Hello, my name is Alex Puccio, a professional climber and coach, and welcome to our rope coaching YouTube channel. Today's episode is going to be on how to climb and move efficiently and why it's so important. Throughout this episode, we're going to go over some key components that are going to help make your climbing more efficient, such as footwork, hip movement, and climbing on your skeleton versus your muscles. So the first thing that we're going to go over is our feet and footwork and how to place them and why it's so important for moving efficiently. So think of your body as one big chain, and to move efficiently, there can't be any kinks in the chain. So we're going to start at the feet right now. So we're going to go from bottom up. And think about your feet are connected to your knees, which are connected to your hips, which are connected to your torso, your shoulders, your elbows, and then your fingers. So if we're gonna start the energy from the bottom up versus top to bottom. So as we're starting at our feet, we wanna make sure that the exact part of our foot goes on exactly to the part of the hold that we want it to go on. So we're gonna watch our feet 100%, not 99.9%, but 100%, so that we know it's there and then that we can go on to the rest of our body to get to the next hold. So if you wanna come in closer. If I was starting this climb, the first thing I always do is I make sure that the part of the foot, in this case is the big toe, goes exactly into the part of the hole that I want it to. And once I have both feet, then I'm ready to make my next adjustments or moves. This is super important because, again, that chain reaction, if we're starting at our feet and the kink is already there, then how are our knees and then our hips going to be efficient as well? Another way to think about this is try to imagine every foothold is an energy pod, and the energy and electricity to get to the next hold starts at the feet. So that's why the connection for every single foothold has to be solid. If you're slipping around on it or you don't put it on properly, how are you going to be able to direct your hips into the wall and to gain that momentum to get to the next hold? It's just not going to be as efficient. So here I'm going to demonstrate how I'm going to use my feet on the energy pods, and then that will allow my hips to be able to be directed into the wall. And then I'm going to swing my hips to be able to use that energy to get to the next hold versus pulling. So if you notice, everything is going to start from the bottom versus pulling first. Our legs are bigger muscles, so let's use them more than our arms. Even if I could campus this, what's the point? The point is to climb it more efficiently, so let's use less energy to get to the top of the wall. So I'm making sure those energy pods and that connection are solid. Hips go into the wall. Even if I'm sitting here with straight arms and I put my hips away from the wall, and to do that I have to push with my feet. If I'm going away from the wall, I can already feel the tension through my hands, my elbows, and my shoulders. So this is actually less efficient than being hips closer into the wall. So once we're in this stable, neutral position, to get to the next hold, I'm going to start swinging my hips in the opposite direction, and then I'm going to swing right over to it. As you can see in this, my arms were able to stay straight the whole entire time. Once I've done that, I then can decide where I want to move my feet, and I always watch 100%. Now I know that's where I want them. I can look back up. I'm going to go left hand crossover, so hips are going to come down in the opposite direction and then swing over. As you can see, sometimes the arm still doesn't bend, but the first thing that moves should be the hips to get that momentum to get to the next hold, not starting at the arms bending. Of course our arms are going to bend while we're climbing, but the point is we want to make sure our legs are doing majority of the hard work and then our arms are assisting our legs, not the other way around. Sounds really simple, but so many people make this mistake, even people that are more in advanced levels of climbing. So I'm going to demonstrate how two ways of climbing. One, I'm going to do it inefficiently, where I'm using my arms as a starting point or the workhorse and my legs assisting my arms. Then I'm going to do the climb again, climbing it more efficiently with my legs and my hips doing more of the work, the hard work, and then my arms assisting my legs. Now, with that, I don't know if you could tell, but I definitely was locking off way more than I needed to be. Every time you're not climbing on your skeleton and you're locking off more or pulling up, you're using your biceps and your forearms and also your fingers more than you need to. Instead of being able to keep your hips into the wall, keeping straighter arms, and then pushing through those feet, which then keep your hips into the wall. So now I'm gonna demonstrate how to climb it more efficiently. And yes, this is for me a quite easy climb, but when I'm warming up, I still like to warm up good technique, not just my muscles. You wanna warm up everything that's gonna set the tone for the rest of the day. So now I'm gonna demonstrate how to climb it more efficiently. Feet are on, hips stay into the wall. Swing my hips. And even though my arm bent there, as you can see, the legs right here are doing more of the work. Then my arms follow my legs. So diving slightly deeper into the momentum aspect of getting to the next hold, I like to say we're creating these lines. And so basically, say you're going right hand to a hold, you're in your neutral, nice setup position, hips into the wall, then you also have your feet on the holds correctly. You're gonna go in the opposite direction. So if I'm going up right hand, I'm gonna go in the opposite direction and then swing up. So if you're in neutral, going to straight up, you're not really gaining momentum. You have to go the opposite direction wherever you're going to then go up to gain that momentum. So I'm gonna show you one more time and more in depth with that momentum for every single move, and I'm gonna talk through it as I'm doing it. So again, always hands and feet, hips as close into the wall. And remember, if our hips even are 2 inches out, whatever it is, the more out our hips are away from the wall, the more strain we're gonna have on the arms. So this is a good stable neutral position. As I'm gonna go right hand to the next hold, the line is just gonna be straight this way. So that's from neutral, straight up. Now if I wanna make it more efficient, opposite direction, and then up to create a swing versus just a push. Then again, always make sure your feet are where you want them, 100%. So now I'm gonna cross over left hand. So this line is gonna be a little bit more like a bit of a curve or a C. So I have to go down and over with the hip. Reach. Move my feet again. Gonna go left hand up. So come down a little bit and then do a little pop up. Always get the feet where you want them. See, every time I grab a hold, I go back into relaxing. Even though my right arm bent here, if I show you a little bit slower, first I go in the opposite direction. The hip was the first thing to go up, arm bent afterwards when it needed to. Then after my left arm has got the hold, I'm able to relax. Opposite direction, up. Feet, hips into the wall, arms are straight. Opposite direction, pop up. And there we are. Here behind me is another style of climb, which is more like a comp style. And I'm gonna climb it inefficiently the first time, which locking off more and more in a defensive manner. And the second time, I'm really gonna concentrate on flowing, flicking, using my feet and my hips to my advantage and making the climb feel easier. So if someone doesn't trust their feet, if they're smearing or it's a bad foothold, we're just distributing our weight while we're climbing. So if we don't trust footholds, what we're gonna do is lock off more to take pressure off of them. If we trust our feet more, we're gonna allow our body weight to be on top of the footholds more and then our hips closer into the wall so we can actually use them. The funny thing is when people are scared of footholds or they think they're gonna slip, they start locking off. And as you take pressure off the feet, the more likely to slip. So as I'm chugging my way through this climb, walking off as much as possible, especially if I was scared to step on these holds. I mean, here we are, we're getting to a no text hold. I'm not trusting it. I'm even out of breath and quite tired from that. Whew, used a lot of bicep. Now, after I catch my breath, I'm gonna attempt to do that same climb, but trusting my feet, putting the pressure through my feet. And again, like, no, if you start walking off more, it's probably because you're not trusting the foothold or the feet that you're on. But they're gonna be more likely to slip if you're taking the weight off of them and putting it more onto your hands. So now, I'm gonna try to trust my feet more, use my hips, kick them into the wall, and use momentum to get to every hold. Definitely more efficient. So here I'm going to demonstrate some Kilter Board climbs that I think are going to be really good examples of how to use my feet, my hips, and my skeleton more than powering through and using my arms to get to the top. So I'm going to demonstrate a few in an efficient way and an inefficient way to show you the difference. And even though I could probably do both, my objective is always to have better technique and more efficient climbing so that when I do go to my projects or I do have these goals, that I'm able to execute them or have a higher chance of executing them. So the things that I want you to focus on these climbs are my feet, how I'm placing them, how I'm always watching them. Even if I keep my feet on the holds that they're on, it's because I looked around and I've decided that's where I want them on, and that is the best position and best footholds to make the next move feel as easy as possible. So objectively, you want to make every move feel as easy as possible to therefore make the whole climb feel as easy as possible. Next thing, you want to make sure that your hips are into the wall as much as they can be, even if you're on a heel hook, a toe hook, or toeing in, and then climbing on the skeleton. So yes, my arms will bend, but I want you to see how I generate through the feet and the hips to get to the next hold versus just pulling with my arms. So hopefully you were able to see, even if I had to do a pogo, which is a more advanced move, but still, if I'm doing a pogo or if I'm generating through the hips, it comes more from the lower extremities, that part of the chain, versus just pulling and trying to either do a one arm walk off or a one arm pull up to get to the next hold. So for anyone wondering, this Kilter Board climb is a V5, I think kind of a hard V5 to be honest, but this is the board climb. Now I'm going to demonstrate how I would climb it if I wasn't climbing it efficiently and I wasn't focusing on pushing with my legs or gaining that momentum through my lower half versus I'm going to try just to pull more and I'm going to be wasting more energy. If you was wondering, yes, this is very applicable to sport climbing as well. In sport climbing, it's even more important to make every move feel as easy as possible. So why not, it's the same thing for bouldering, why not break every single move down every single foot position, hand position, hip position, and make every single movement feel as easy as possible. I'm gonna try my hardest to climb this inefficiently. Definitely a good bit harder. Also, something that came to mind is that we see so many people and athletes and people that we coach all over, their strength is like, let's say up here, but their climbing technique and ability is down here. And honestly, so they're capped at this medium level. And if they climbed more efficiently, they'd already be at that next level that they want to be at. So this is the next climb on the Kilter Board. And I'm gonna talk through it and kind of go back and forth on moves and demonstrate good and bad technique on the same exact time up the climb. So come with me. Okay. See, I'm gonna do this if I was gonna climb inefficiently. See how I'm just like walked off more? And even though my foot, there's still tension through it, it is pushing, but it is assisting my arms since my arms are bending right now. Now, if I wanted to do that first move efficiently, all the pressure goes through my foot, knee is more bent, right foot doesn't have to be on anything, and in this case, there is no hold for it to go on. So I wanna pop my right hand to the next hold. To do that, I'm gonna go in the opposite direction of the hips, and then up. Now I can relax my arm once I've made the next move. And here, if I was gonna just hold to it versus sagging my hips, then going up. Get the foot and match. Big crossover. Yes, the hold is so close that I could just start with the tension through my left arm and pull to it. Or why not gain it through the hips and pop up, saving my arms and my muscles. Stomach. Climbing efficiently, as you can see, is super important. Even doing that and going back and forth, I know, but I still feel more of a burn in my forearms, and that's, what, 6 moves long? Think about if you're in a route and you have 30 moves to go. This is where it becomes even more important. I know I've said keep our arms as straight as possible, as much as we can. Yes, this is going to be our most efficient style of climbing on the skeleton, but sometimes that's not realistic, and it might be because of the hold type, the move type, or some other factor that makes us need to be in a more locked off position versus a more relaxed position. So, but there is a way to get to the next hold still more efficiently through our feet and hips and our legs versus pulling with our arms. So for example, say I'm in this position where I have to be a bit more locked off versus straight arms. But to get to the next hold, there's a difference between going, just trying to lock off and maybe not quite get the reach, or in the same position, going down on the feet and the hips and popping up to get the momentum to get to the next position. So even if we're not fully straight arm because maybe that move or that climb doesn't allow us to be efficient, there are still ways to generate to get to the next hold versus still just only using our arms and locking off as the primary and our legs being that secondary. Instead, again, we want the other way around, legs to be the primary and the arms to assist and be the secondary. Another thing to think about, and something that I truly train and live by while I'm climbing, is try to make every climb feel easier than what the grade is. So if you're getting on a V4, make it feel like a V3. If you're getting on a V7, make that V7 feel like a V6. Make that V0 feel like a VB, which is V beginner. So with that in mind, if I do a climb and I got up it in a sloppy way, even if I flashed it or something I'm not happy with, or a section of that climb, then I'll redo that climb so that I can learn better technique. If it's my feet, if it was my hips, if it was my beta, whatever the reason was for making that climb feel harder than what the grade said, go back and do it again, even if you flashed it, and try to make that climb feel easier than you did the previous time.
I won't stop until I find it. Write my name in diamonds, but all these lights are blinding. I wonder, is it worth it? Feel like I'm losing my mind. Yeah, remind me.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars.
If you find yourself struggling with any of these concepts, or just simply want to take your climbing and training to the next level, here at ROAP Coaching, we offer personalized training programs and assessments globally. This is honestly a true passion of ours, and we love helping people achieve their goals. I wanted to give a big shout out and thank you to The Climbing Collective for allowing us to use their awesome facility for shooting these episodes. And if you like this episode, please give it a like and subscribe for more content.